I think especially about AI, it's really interesting because some people are saying that AI is really great and it's good for, I guess, making work less menial, and it's doing all those things. But now people are also talking about how it's affecting climate change, because in the factories where they kind of develop the software, someone was telling me every time you use ChatGPT, it's causing CO2 emissions. And I said, CO2 is plant food.
Yes, well, that's exactly what the professor says. It's plant food. And there's no answer to that. There's no comeback on that. So you stick to your guns.
Well, every planet in our solar system has carbon dioxide in its atmosphere. Mm-hmm. We have a huge amount of carbon dioxide deep in our planet, which is being leaked out. Every time we pull apart the planet, we leak out carbon dioxide. We've got a certain sort of volcano that erupts carbon dioxide-rich rocks. They only have 44 to 48% carbon dioxide in them. Mm-hmm. It is a natural gas, and it's recycled through plants. If we're burning coal, all we're doing is putting carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere where it came from. Now, through my eyes as a geologist, if we look at the last 50 million years, we've had cooling. And during that, we've had warm spikes, but we've also had a general cooling trend. Mm-hmm. Over the last 500 million years, since the appearance of complex life on Earth, which required carbon dioxide to make shells and limestone formed, carbon-rich sediments formed, we have lowered the global atmospheric carbon dioxide content from 0.7% to 0.04%. We have a crisis in carbon dioxide. Not that there's too much of it, there's not enough of it. And if we halved the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, no plants would grow. And we would end up with an atmosphere that was nitrogen-rich, and that would be our fourth atmosphere. Our first atmosphere was rich in hydrogen and helium. The second atmosphere was rich in carbon dioxide and had up to 20% compared with 0.04%. Our third atmosphere has got 21% oxygen in it. And we are going to have the natural evolution into a planet that will have no oxygen or carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Now, the founder of Greenpeace, Patrick Moore, who wrote the foreword to one of my books, Patrick argues that we should be burning as much coal and oil as possible to delay the geological trend of the reduction of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere over time. Now, that might take 5, 10 or 20 million years before we don't have enough for plants. And we're comforted by the fact that we humans live on, as a terrestrial vertebrate, live for about 3 million years, and then we evolve into something else or become extinct. Plants evolved with this decreasing carbon dioxide content to handle it. So we got the C4 plants like sugarcane and what's another example? Corn that evolved. So we have to look at the past, and if you can't look at the past, you can't possibly understand the present. And whether it be history, archaeology or geology, you cannot ignore the past.
I actually said in one of my speeches, looking into the past, it was talking about embracing our past to protect our future, because you think about it, when we don't understand what's happened, whether it's with wars or with like the climate change, like I know my grandpa's talked about how we've gone through a cycle of global like heating and cooling, and it's not something new that's happening. Back on what we were talking about with the climate change in schools, Senator Jonathan Duniam, he's the Shadow Minister for Education, and he actually had a few quotes in the article I shared with you about the climate crisis being taught in schools, and he said that when he took his son to the Oval to watch his older son's soccer game, there was a tree stump there. And his son got really distressed about it, and he said, oh my gosh, that's killing the earth. That's what our teacher told us. It's killing the koalas. And he said to him, first of all, we don't have koalas in Tasmania. So first of all, they're teaching them that an animal that isn't even in their state is there. And for every tree we plant, we cut down in Australia, we plant 10. So deforestation isn't happening. We actually, as Ian said, we need to be burning more coal to account for the amount of CO2 we need to feed for the expanding population of plants. Otherwise, it's going to be...
How did the speech go down?
It went well. I didn't go through, but I've got another competition this Saturday for state finals for another competition, which will be fun to participate in. It's a great experience.
And you're still doing the television program?
Yes. So we had a few new episodes come out, inspired by Tony Quinn, inspired by Amy Wallace and Spipey. That was a combined episode of 2 students. And we also had a couple others come out. But yeah, it's been going really well.
This man is one of the most inspirational that you will ever meet.
I will need to get your details, because I think you would perform very well on Sky's program, The Outsiders, it's on Sunday morning, or I've got a regular Monday night Sky program, often on The Outsiders. But there are a couple of the younger ones there who occasionally perform, and they are really valued, because you can't have the opinions run by old farts like myself. You need younger people to have thought it through, done the reading, and to espouse their views.
Yeah. How come you're so sensible, Isabella? Where did your grasp of reality come from?
I don't believe everything I see on the news. We actually
That's a good start.
Yeah, we had a debate last night arguing that we regret the trend of major media corporations endorsing political parties, and we had to affirm that statement. And we were talking about how when they endorse political parties, they can sensationalise and even misinform the public by endorsing and pushing away certain parties. But also, not everybody has the ability to distinguish what is true or false, and not everyone knows to actually research their facts. If a general person saw on ABC, climate change is real, this is happening by 40%, the earth is about to die, they'd probably believe it. But we have to actually question what we see, not just trust one source.
Yes.
When you're at school and you had to do a report, did you just use one source in your essay? No, you would have gone and you would have researched, you would have looked at Encyclopedia Britannica, you might have looked at an article from The Guardian. But no, we're just believing one small opinion, and our generation's going in with kind of one unified opinion. And I think it's good to be unified in so many different ways, but we need to also have diverse opinions and also know what's true from false.
When you stand up and talk like this in class at school, how do the teachers react? I probably wouldn't do that in an environment at school. I wouldn't talk about this. I think when you're in an environment where mainly people disagree with you, you tend to just nod your head and agree in that scenario. Because but hang on, wouldn't that if I was a teacher, I would
not around this table.
I'd put you on my number one preference list.
Well, no, if I was a teacher, I would expect the kids to argue with me and put their case. And I wouldn't sort of say, well, I have this knowledge here, and this is what you're going to believe.
Yeah.
You know, I don't understand it. You've got to have freedom of... People talk about freedom of speech, which is important, but freedom of thought is probably much more important.
Exactly. And I think that when teachers only allow one kind of thought or opinion in the classroom, they talk about wanting diversity, but really they're only... talking about one kind of diversity. I don't think about the diversity of thoughts and opinions, because it's not just where we come from, it's what we believe.
Yes.
So if they're just shutting down every other opinion other than what they want to hear, our generation's going to go into adulthood and be very naive to the world around us.
See what I mean, Professor? What a future we have if we had a few more Isabellas.
We occasionally sit around this table and moan and groan and despair, and people like you give us hope.
Yes.
So keep fighting.
I would love to see an interview or a discussion between Greta and this young lady.
Oh, yes, Greta Thunberg. That would be fun.
That'd be wonderful.
I think she needs to do a little bit more research before she goes opening her mouth, personally. But
needs to go to school.
Yeah, I really like that she's not, like, I think when we're putting rubbish in the ocean, yes, that's probably not the best thing, but that's probably one of the only things that is contributing to any environmental damage, and it's not as big as a problem as they're creating it. So I think she needs to understand that.
Well, plastic, at last, I think we're part of now 90 countries that have decided we will do something about the plastic in the oceans.
I read somewhere recently that the Japanese have developed a technology for dissolving it. Can you comment on that, Professor?
Yes, there are bacteria that feed on plastics. They also feed on oil. If there's an oil spill, they disappear fairly quickly. So the bacterial world is one of great surprises. Bacteria can survive anything. They can survive acid conditions, alkaline conditions, high oxygen, low oxygen, high pressure, low pressure. They're in clouds. Bacteria are in ice sheets. Bacteria from salt deposits in Texas have been resurrected. after they've been living in salt for 250 million years. 90% of your cells in your body are bacterial. 15% of your weight is bacteria. We don't understand bacteria. We've got bacteria here at Arkaroola, up in the far north Flinders Ranges, that live in 62 degrees Celsius water, which is highly radioactive. And it's the same species that lives in the cooling water of nuclear power stations. So bacteria are absolutely marvellous if you can find out which bacteria do what. And if I was to come back again and do science again, I'd probably be looking at a life of bacteria.
But you're not coming back again because you're not leaving. He's far too valuable, Isabella.
Yeah, and they're probably not
You're
going
a
to teach you
national
that
treasure.
at university anymore as well if you went to study that. I think that they're it's not just schools, but it's also universities. Like any kind of school now is basically shutting out like the real fact about climate change and all the things that we've been talking about.
If you go to university, what course will you do?
I'd probably study law because it's probably one of the...
Oh, don't tell the professor that.
I understand that AI can take over. The difference between...
No, it's worse than that.
Yeah.
We'll talk her out of that.
The difference between an AI lawyer and a real lawyer is, say, if a parent is fighting a legal battle, say, for domestic violence. I did an interview recently on that. An AI lawyer is never going to have the same amount of compassion that a lawyer that could have possibly been in the same situation will ever have. They will not defend them with the same amount of emotional connection, and they will not have the same amount of guts when they're presenting that in court. You simply can't replace human connection with AI. Now, while it can replace how neatly and grammatically correct we write something, the empathy is never going to be there no matter how hard they try.
Well, what about if we get the AI to be the judge? And he just sits there in his box.
That's another issue. AI's biased. You wouldn't think that. When I interviewed Amy Wallace, who's a part of our new episode, she spoke about how when AI, part of a trial, they were asked which prisoners should be put on parole.
Yes.
And I think it was 50% people of colour and 50% white people. And she said pick half of the people half of the people were asked to be which one should be freed, and it was all the white people, even though what they had done sometimes was worse. So AI can be incredibly racist in some ways, and it's also biased. So I don't think AI should be used in our justice scheme or anything to do with that.
But you know the difference between a lawyer and a rat?
Yes, the difference between a lawyer and a rat is the rat is not very intelligent.
No, there are just some things that a rat won't do. Sorry if I've offended anyone. No, I'm not sorry. It's all right. It's okay.
You got that from the possums pages.
I don't remember where
We
I
love our
got it.
possums. The wildlife in Australia is very important. Yeah.
I've got
Indeed.
40 that come to the back door every
40?
night.
Yep.
Yes.
I can't say I have 40 possums, but we certainly have 40 wild birds that congregate out the back to Mum putting out seed.
Because you're up in the hills, aren't you?
Yes, and
you'd have some wonderful birds up there.
We have a large variety of Australia's bird population that migrate there every morning to get their food. But yeah, I think it's really important that we're preserving the environment in that fact, because I get things like when they take the horns off of elephants and that, and they're putting plastic out into the ocean without dealing with it with the bacteria that we spoke about before. It isn't good. But the CO2 emissions is a lot of crap.
Yeah, but we've somehow got to get the teachers to accept it and then start teaching the sort of science that the professor is talking
bring back teacher
about.
Training colleges, of course.
Well, yes. Anything that's going to save the day.
Indeed.
And particularly tomorrow.
Indeed. Yes.
And the thing with teachers now these days is a lot of the time you don't actually have to get the grades that you get don't have to be as high to get into the degree or to be a teacher. It's I heard someone say it's one of like the lowest, like you can get 60% and become a teacher with your ATAR. And I think it honestly should be completely the opposite, because if we're training the next generation in schools, which is compulsory, teachers that are scoring 60% aren't probably going to be training them to the best of their ability to be politicians, to be scientists, to be lawyers, to be geologists, or anything like that.
Have you had an IQ test?
No, So I've got.
That'd be interesting.
I don't know. IQ's only a really small part of someone's intelligence. Like you like measuring emotional intelligence. Obviously, like whatever you want to call Elon Musk's intelligence, like that mathematical side. There's so many different aspects, and I don't think an IQ test really encompasses all of that.
Then you get people who are savant and have the strange ability to memorize and photographic memories. And just a gift. People with gifts don't get measured accurately with an IQ test. Okay, so you've gone to university and you've studied law, and then you can do a second degree. What are you going to do?
I probably wouldn't get a second degree because that would be a little bit too much hex step with the way things are going.
Oh, God, yes.
I think it's so terrible that instead of being really excited to have an education in something that we're really passionate about at university, kids are having to worry about, can I study that? Can I afford to study that? Like, that shouldn't be something that we're ignoring about.
So you're through, there you are, 25 or 30 or something. You come out of education. What are you going to do with your life?
Make the world a better place.
God bless you. How are you going to do that?
I don't think it's...
Where do you start?
I don't honestly know where I'm starting, but I know there's so many things I want to do. Like, I want to help children find out what they want to do instead of being scared to the point where they're having eco-anxiety about the environment. I want them to know that they have a future. I want them to know that there's so many opportunities for them and that there isn't just a sausage machine that should be pressing kids out in a certain way. That was said at a conference at a high school I saw when they launched the entrepreneurial program, but you don't have to be a certain way. You can be how, like, your opinions and beliefs are entirely up to you, just as long as you're informed about what that means, and you can do whatever you want when you're older, and the world is going to be there for you. I think that's some place I want to start.
A cynic once told me, I don't know if you've seen Sydney University, have you?
No.
On Parramatta Road in just past Broadway going outside the city. I'll turn that down. And there's a sculpture on the wall, and you've got a whole lot of different lines, pieces of metal coming into a certain point. And they're all different sizes and shapes, and they all come in, and then they go, which is the coming into the university. That's that. Then they go out. They diverge. They go out, meaning into the different faculties.
I think that should be at every school and every educational facility.
Yeah, but what happens is the lines come together again for graduation, and they all come out the same.
Is that what the sculpture is?
Well, I
take that statement back from what I just said. I think they should have that, but they should keep them going out in different directions.
That's right. They should all come out.
There's so much
individuals.
There's so much worry about, oh my goodness, I've got to be besties with everyone I went to school with. When you leave year 12 and when you finish school and you walk outside of those gates, your life is going to change forever. You're going to mix with so many different social circles, whether it's in your professional career or your social life. And school is such a minor drop in the ocean compared to the rest of your life. Yes, it's like when you're at school, it seems like the most important thing in the world because it's the only thing you've ever experienced. But we have to remember there is a world outside of it.
Are private schools better?
It's a really hard question because you think about the social side. Probably, I think it would be equivalent. I'm not sure. I've never experienced a public school because I can't really comment, but I think some public schools have really great programs. Like I know Murray Bridge High School, Heathfield High School have an entrepreneurial program. My school doesn't do that, and I don't know a lot of other schools that do it, but also colleges can also have really great programs. Like I know St Ignatius have Tech Smart Tuesdays where they step away from technology completely on Tuesdays and they revert back to textbooks, class discussions and the way things used to be. So I think it's honestly personal preference.
Would you like to go to school with boys?
I think
Co-ed?
as you get older, it might be a bit of a distraction. I hear my mum say that a lot. But I think in primary
mothers
school,
do know best.
They do. I love my mum. I just think maybe when you're in primary school, I think it might be something that's more interesting because you get more mixed opinions and you're not in that very all-girls environment, which can sometimes be a bit toxic.
I've heard people say that, but I would have thought school should prepare you for life, and life has girls and boys in it.
Exactly.
And
yes.
you got to get used to it somehow. Because, I went to a boys' school, all boys' school, and girls for a long time after I left school were...
Intimidating?
Intimidating, frightening. They were mysterious.
That is just the way of the world.
Yeah,
but
if you grow up maybe with sisters, and I didn't, but if you grow up in a co-ed sort of environment, you're setting yourself up far better to understand with and cope with life.
Yes, I definitely think there's a lot of benefits, but I think maybe in high school it might be like as you get towards year 12 and stuff, it might be a good idea to separate it a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
My grandma, she always talks about how she preferred playing with the boys because she didn't like playing with dollies and all that. She liked playing sport.
Everyone's different.
I think in primary school it's a really great idea, I think. But I think, in year 12 it might be a good time to kind of separate that. But yeah.
How old are you now?
I'm 13 turning 14.
13 turning 14. And I think the first time you came into the dining room table, you were 11 or something like that.
I think so. Yeah, it's really exciting. I love this kind of conversation where I can kind of actually express my opinions.
You are very good at it.
I'm what do they call it again?
Articulate.
No,
smart.
A lot of conspiracy theorists. When you say these kind of opinions, I'm like, no, it's actually what's happening. Go do your research before you say that to me. It's quite insulting, but yeah.
Well, Professor, I know you've got to go. You've got a full day. But you've given us a lot of time. Have a very safe trip. When can we see you again?
Next Friday, I could do it down the line.
Yeah.
From the agony and pain of being in the Seychelles.
Okay.
And
or if you want the day off, it's all right. But
the following Friday from Montreal.
Okay.
Which is Thursday night. This time is mid-evening on the Thursday night for me, and then I'll be back.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, the Friday the 4th I'm in Broken Hill, but I can do it down the line.
Well, it's a good thing you've got your own private jet.
Well, I don't, but I hitch a ride on one.
Have a safe trip.
The reason we didn't go to the Middle East was it's exactly the same plane and model that the Israeli military used for aerial reconnaissance.
Whoops.
The Gulfstream 700.
Oh, dear.
And the wise decision was made, let's not fly over the Arab countries in the same plane that the Israelis use.
No.
So that's
Good
why
thinking,
we're going
Professor.
by the Seychelles.
Good thing. All the best to you.
Thank you.
Take good care. Can you stay for a little while, Isabella?
Yes, I'd love to.
Good.